Okay, it's a real privilege for me today to be doing this particular session, because this is the C.K. Prahlad Memorial session. A person who I held in great esteem, and he was often my mentor several times, and consequently I'm so happy, and I said it's a real honor to be actually conducting this session. This session is on geopolitics, but it is about the startup opportunities around geopolitics. Because, on geopolitics right now, there is this India Today conclave going on, and there are going to be lots of experts on geopolitics. So we don't profess to be experts on geopolitics, but we are essentially going to use that narrative to see what are the kind of opportunities that are going to come up as far as people sitting in this room are concerned, the various startups. So let's see some of the big geopolitical themes which are there, and the first one that I will pick up is the one which is all about the distress of China. Now, from 2018 onwards, when President Trump started the anti-China tirade, and in India, of course, we've been having this policy for some time as to what we should be doing as far as China is concerned. But more importantly, it was the globe which started this entire thing of distrusting China, and therefore the China plus one. This further got complicated by the Russia-Ukraine war also, and that disrupted the entire supply lines. And when those supply lines got disrupted, people did realize that there was necessity to have another trusted partner. And that's where India also started its PLI scheme and Atmanirbharta and so on. And that entire thing is falling in place. And I've got a very eminent panel talking to me today about that. So let me start with Sundi. And talk to us through those early years, the 2018 onward, when the distress of China on the global scene, because they had emerged as the product capital of the world. How did that entire story play out? How would you sort of describe those?
Thank you, PK. So let me kind of throw in a few events that most of us have been tracking the last, I would say, 3 months or so. I'll try and broadly connect these dots and see how the whole thing is panning out, right? So the first one is, most recently, I think you guys have noticed the big announcement of Air India procuring 200 plus aircrafts from Boeing, and that became like a big event. Guess what? President Biden makes a White House press release, not just talking about what the deal is about, what the $1 billion, but then the underlying details there is creating 1 million US jobs. That's the underlying thing, right? So that's one event. Okay. Let's then look into another event that happened where a few weeks or maybe just under a week, we announced that India picked up a big reserve of lithium, right, which is core to the next gen of whatever you're looking at, battery manufacturing and everything, and there are huge reserves in Jammu and Kashmir. And along those lines, we also had the US Secretary of Treasury, Ellen, come in and comment about how she's seeing and very, very openly talking about the concept of friendshoring. And I will, for most of you who don't know what friendshoring, it's basically the next avatar of, we started with offshoring, then we went to nearshoring, and now friendshoring is basically working with partners or friends and creating supply chains here. So you put all these events together, and one big event that recently got announced was the announcement of the US ambassador to India, which was unfilled for the last several years because of COVID, because of whatever reason. But then that comes at a very strategic time, and so looking at all these kinds of things, I would look at the whole picture as twofold. One is what kind of opportunities are there in the US potentially for India and Indian innovation to take place, and we'll deep dive into it. And the second set of opportunity is opportunity in India, which US is eyeing because they're looking at millions of people here, especially what I call as urbanization. And if most of you have not realized, the urban the growth in which India is creating urban cities. Imagine creating a city as big as Los Angeles every month going forward for the next so many years is the kind of urbanization that's happening.
So, the India-US axis, we just talk about it in a minute, but you mentioned about friendshoring. And, there is this trust. And India has emerged as a very trusted partner globally. Mr. Kumar, my question to you is that in this light of Atmanirbharta and the PLI scheme, what are the opportunities that are today there for Indian startups?
Thank you, Pradeep. That as you said, there is a China plus one strategy, right? So India wants to capitalize that the China plus one strategy. And now you see from last 10 years, we are boosting electronics manufacturing like anything. And we have actually electronics manufacturing suffered a lot in this country due to very easy custom policies and all, import policies and all. Now we have for Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have multiple schemes which is coming from Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, like PLI scheme, where we are giving 4 to 6% of its incentive for sales, incremental sales. Similarly, we have our DLI scheme. We have launched a program called TiECon, which is of around 10 billion US dollars, and wherein central government is providing 50% of the support, 20% are coming from some states also. So I think there is a big plan where you can get 70% of the incentive, both creating semicon industry, for creating fab labs, for DLI. Because now government is very clear that manufacturing is the thing which has been left out by any means. Now it has to be pushed. And now the results are there. Now we are producing around 30 crores mobile phone, and which is around our 97% of consumption in India is coming from our own production. If you see 5 years back before PLI scheme, 92-93% we are importing. So these schemes not only we have launched the scheme, these schemes are working and they are giving the results.
Great. So the future story is not just around services around which the startup story so far has been built, but a lot of this is going to be around manufacturing as well. So thanks for giving that fresh perspective to where the opportunities are going to be. Goldie, so we are talking about cross-border trade and so on. So what sort of regulatory framework do you think startups should be conscious about? I mean, there are hundreds of them, but very broadly speaking, what are some of the things that people should be conscious of when they are starting on this journey?
Thank you. So I think, let me contextualize this, right? We had 80 plus startups being registered every day last year. We have approximately more than 80,000 startups registered with TPWIT, right? That's a significant number, coming from what, 400, 450 in 2016. Certainly there's something which is working well, right, in that context. And I'll break this into two buckets. One is on tax, the other is on regulations. So from a tax standpoint, I think the government has already given some benefits to startups. There is a 3-year 100% tax holiday. when you incur losses, you don't lose losses over a defined period of time, provided the same shareholders remain and within the company. And there is one specific tax which is called as angel tax. It basically means that when an investor is investing money into an Indian company and that investment is in excess of the fair market value, then whatever is the additional amount is not taxed in the hands of the Indian company. And this provision only applies to startups and not to other companies. But recently in the last budget, 23 budget, actually the government has changed this law to even bring in the foreign investors into this law. Meaning that if a foreign investor is putting money in an Indian startup and the amount is in excess of the fair market value, that gets taxed in the hands of an Indian startup. In my view, I think the government will, listen to all the aspects which have been spoken about on this part, because this change can have if this is sort of taken back to what it was earlier, it certainly help the startup ecosystem. From a regulatory standpoint, I think there are multiple things that happen. So we have a credit guarantee scheme, we have a seed funding scheme, we have a fast track mechanism for patents. We have a much simpler compliance mechanism. And even last year, the outbound regulations under the Foreign Exchange Management Act was amended to allow startups to have 2 tiers special purpose vehicles overseas. You will appreciate that most startups have companies in India, have companies in the US, in Singapore, so on and so forth. And most of these structures were set up, as startups were growing, right? So I think the government has listened to the request from the startups and has changed policies in the period of time. I think, having said that, there are still, much more which needs to be done. I think the fact is that there is a significant ease of doing business, and this can continue.
Okay, so we have 10 more minutes left. And so let me talk about the next big geopolitical change which is taking place right now. One is, as you said, the Indo-US axis, this friends, the summer as far as the relationship between the two countries are concerned, and therefore global opportunities. The other one is the India-China border issue. Okay, because of that particular border issue, once again, we are mobilizing our army and so on, and therefore, are there opportunities in defense and in the other areas that are going to emerge in that? So, to discuss both these areas, I would start with Mr. Arvind Kumar first. My question to you is, STPI Next today is the largest incubator in this country. There are more than 450, I mean my number may be wrong, which are today 450 startups are being incubated by you. Alright. Now, therefore, on both these issues, are you seeing some changes? Are you seeing, for instance, more outward-looking, US-looking startups? Are you seeing a lot of international startups looking at the Indian market? And are you looking at growth in terms of defense tech and other areas?
Right. So, as you said, we have largest, at least horizontal ecosystem, startup ecosystem in this country. They have multiple schemes. One scheme is called Center for Entrepreneurship. So we have opened around 25 Center for Entrepreneurship across the country. And those are very domain specific. Like if you want to work in fintech, we have FinGrew at Chennai. If somebody wants to work in automobiles, we have Motion at Pune. If somebody wants to work on blockchain, we have Center for Entrepreneurship at Gurgaon. It's called Blockchain. And we also have a scheme is called Next Generation Incubation Scheme, where we provide 25 lakh rupees seed fund to each startup. So there are multiple schemes which is being run by STPI through STPI Next. Now, when it comes to your this question, actually there are two basic problems when it comes to startup. One is to get the right problem statement. This is one problem. Now, there are a lot of angel funds. Manager has been interested. So funds It's not that much issue now in a startup ecosystem in this country. There are two basic issues. One is to get the right problem statement, and second is to get the market access. So now we are doing a lot of collaboration with industry to get the right problem statement. We are also interacting with banks. We are interacting with public sector units. They are providing, like we have created one startup ecosystem in Vizag, which is along with RINL. So they have given a lot of problem statement for industry 4.0 perspective. Similarly, we are getting a number of problem statement. Next is how to get the market access. So what we have done, we have done a competition type of the thing, hackathon type of the thing for all over the country. And we have selected 33 startups out of this, and we have taken them to US. So last week that program was there, and those 33 startups has pitched in before technocrat, before venture capitalist, before angel funding in USA, in San Francisco. And out of them, 8 got that traction. So 8 of them have been selected. 8 startup has got that they will be funded from one of the VCs, two of the VCs in USA. So there are a lot of attraction, and people sitting in a start. We have selected only 33 startups. Those who were not selected, they were willing to go to USA. I want to go in any case to USA. Just get my visa. So there's a lot of attraction. People want to access the market of USA from the market access perspective and from the fund perspective. So there are a lot of attraction of the startup for USA. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw outside here also there is an STPI. There are about 10-12 startups of STPI being showcased there. So great initiatives in terms of taking startups in terms of the go-to-market strategies. Coming to you, Sundi, TiECon you conducted an entire day event, a full day event, talking about this opportunity which is there for startups based upon the India-US access. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, sure. So every year in the month of October, we host what we call as the GovCon, which is government contracting. So what most people here don't know the facts is US government, as you know, is the biggest person or the organization that's purchasing in terms of trillions of dollars of procurement. It's both products and services. Guess what? Out of these $1 trillion, they have to, it is mandated by the regulations, they have to spend 38% of that $1 trillion with small businesses. And when I say small, guys, these are businesses up to 30 million in revenues. So that will probably cover a 70-80% of the small businesses or in terms of how it's being defined. And now they've come to a point where they want to embrace innovation. They want to embrace things that are happening in cybersecurity, defense, satellites, drones, all integrated into their go-to-market or their go-to-market solutions and products. And TiECon is facilitating a whole day worth of conference where these companies come in and we help them as an Indian company to flip and set up a developer car, set up joint ventures and partnerships with companies like us. We do 100 billion of revenues with the federal government. We have contracts. Like us, there are so many other mid-sized companies that are dying to get these technologies. It could be product, it could be solutions, shrink wrap it and then sell it to the government. And these are really low-hanging fruits, and it's a win-win for us, for the government, and also for startups and the small businesses here. So, and there are conduits to go through it, including something called a joint venture and a mentor prodigy program that's blessed by the US government through the Small Business Administration. So we know the process of certification will help you get these conduits in, and we've seen in less than 12 months, 18 months, people are walking away with 80, 50, 100 million work, of which the Indian startups or the startups from outside the US can also benefit from. I'll be happy to share more information, but
so perhaps TiECon and TiE Delhi could put together a GovTech
absolutely
half a day or something of that sort. So I think perhaps we should discuss that.
Sure.
Take that kind of thing upwards. So Murthy, the balance of trade between India and China was $70 billion 2 years back. and today it is $100 billion, 20. So, is it just that we are giving lip service that no, we should look at Atmanirbharta, we should look at Indian startups and stuff like that, but we continue to buy everything from China because the trade deficit has actually gone up. So are we serious about it? And if we are not, then what we should do to be serious about it?
Well, I think we are quite serious about it. I think the government's Make in India program is here to stay. And we are seeing a significant amount of interest from companies, both Indian and global, who are looking at setting up manufacturing in India. Example being Foxconn yesterday announcing 200 crore investment in airports, right? I meet with foreign companies on a daily basis. Every day we have requests from them to say, how can I set up a manufacturing base in India? So I think that story is here to stay, right? As I said, I think India is going through a technological change, if I will. What's happening is we are manufacturing the finished product, and still the raw materials components still need to be imported. So there will be a timing difference, if I will say, where we'll continue to import products, components and raw materials from across the world, China being one of them. But I think very soon we'll have an ecosystem where the entire value chain will be created in India. And that's where the thought process of the government is, where they want to create the entire ecosystem in India. And once that happens, I think the balance of trade across multiple countries will certainly be in India's favor.
So is there also an opportunity around these intermediates, that means the raw materials, that means the various components and so on?
Absolutely is. Today, as we speak, there are multiple component players. An example is mobile manufacturing. One success story, right? There are multiple component manufacturers within the mobile ecosystem, which are looking at setting up manufacturing base in India.
Okay, because typically the Indian startup ecosystem does not look at that entire space at all. So everybody is interested in direct product or services to the consumer, but not really the intermediate space. But what I'm hearing is that there is going to be
just to give an example,
there as well.
There are multiple component manufacturers across the world which are billion-dollar companies by themselves.
Okay, yeah. So we almost come to an end of this panel discussion. Some of the takeaways that are obvious from this particular panel discussion is that the bonhomie between India and US and the distrust as far as the Chinese manufacturing is concerned is causing a shift. And this particular shift is creating tremendous amount of opportunities for startups. And these opportunities will emerge in completely new areas that we have not looked at so far. And therefore, it will be important for the startups to start looking at these opportunities. These opportunities, as the panel discussed, are in the area of manufacturing. They are in the area of high technology, defense tech and drones and all of that. It is in GovTech, a lot of things associated with that, as well as we need to be looking at the entire intermediate space, and that is where some of the future opportunities would be coming. With that, I would like to really thank my panel. Thank you very, very much for a very crisp discussion on this very, very important topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to our panelists, and with that, we love to felicitate you and give you a token of appreciation from the time. Can we have a big round of applause for our panelists, please? Yes, we can keep the applause going.